Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Intuitive Life Coach podcast. This is your host, Angie, and I am wanting to come on today to share with you some super awesome and crazy intuitive messages I have been getting. So I am currently doing a mentorship training in some way about mediumship. And if I'll give a shout out to the Global Sisterhood. They also have a podcast, Time in the Feminine, that I have really enjoyed for several years and had done some trainings with them prior. But I learned about this one and really felt intrigued to dive in and learn more. As I continue my healing journey, things continue to come up for me that are a little bit hidden deep down inside of my shadows. And so just a little plug for that. I am going to be offering a shadow work course for the entire month of March. Each day will be focused on a certain part of our shadow, exposing it, and then we'll build on that shadow part of ourselves, exposing those areas in our life that keep us stuck in loops or in unhealed areas of our life, and shining light in those to release them so we can let go of what's keeping us from some of our biggest desires or things that we've been wanting to manifest into our lives. And so what I'm really finding, and just a little bit more on that, you'll get some meditations throughout it, and then we will be meeting. I think I'm going to do Wednesdays at 5 p.m. for a group call just to check in with everybody, do meditation, and discuss a little bit of what shadow work is. So I do plan on doing that to at least 4 weeks of that course. So if you want to join, please come be with us in that. It'll be on www.leaflessons.org, and it's under courses. If you are going to, if there's any worry about the financial part of it, please just reach out to me. I'm always willing to work with you on some kind of a payment plan outside of what I already have on there, because I really believe in healing work and I want everybody to dive in, but I also know the value of what I am creating. And, healers get a lot of bad rap for charging for their services, but what you don't see in the background is how much work they're doing to create these things and the trainings and what they're learning. So a lot goes into these things, and that is why some of those things that you see out there, just like therapy, you go to one therapy session, it's quite a bit of money. So that is one reason that energy exchange comes back through the financial need of the healer. So just a heads up on that for those. I hear a lot of that in the world of, well, if you're a healer, then why do you charge? Well, that is why, because there's a lot that goes into these things. So just a side note. But coming back into this course that I'm currently enrolled in and doing with many women around the world, I'm finding that a lot of my shadows are being exposed. And this work is not easy. Shadow work is not something that we like to do, because it causes us to have to see areas of ourselves that are not necessarily fun or feel good. And so I've found myself being very triggered throughout this process, and we've only had 2 calls, and during the first one, I felt myself having a horrible attitude, and I was able to kind of get myself back in check after that, but I realized that some of it was something was clashing up against something that I had hidden inside of me. And I wasn't able to really dig in and process what that was until I was talking with my healer over the weekend, and she mentioned something about mothers. And immediately this ping came up in me, and ding, ding, ding. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. And so being in a group of many, many, many women who are intuitive and healers and mediums and spiritual is a bit intimidating for me. And I don't know if anybody else would feel like that. But particularly what I'm noticing is that this part of me that is still working through a lot of my own wounds of growing up and emotional needs that I did not get met, that I'm now trying to meet for myself, are coming up. But also a lot of the religious programming that I've had is being bumped up against. You know, we think that we get through things and we heal through things, but then that shadow pops back up and exposes another layer of what yet needs to be released. And so I'm finding that layer coming up, and it's not necessarily things I didn't know were inside of me, but they're things that I keep hidden. And there are a lot of things that you don't want to show the world or even look at yourself. So the shadows that pop up often mean that you're ready to deal with it. If it's coming to a point where you feel like it's time to look at that part of your life, then what we like to do when in any normal circumstance is try to push those things back down. So we ignore them or kind of run away from them because it doesn't feel good to have to admit these things about ourselves. And, you know, I would say probably at least 5 years ago, 5 to 6 years ago, I really started noticing that I just wanted to be different. I just wanted to change. And this was shortly after my my own spiritual awakening, which I encourage you to get my first book to read about that, Leaf Lessons When Trauma and Religion Collide, the process of spiritual awakening and healing. But this part of my life that I really wanted to start healing, I realized that I had to really let myself feel and see these areas and be 100% honest, which I believe in many ways. This is going to be in my second book, Composting Ego. So it should be out in the next 3 weeks. So be watching. I'm so excited. I write about this in that book, but I believe that part of what Jesus was even trying to teach us about, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about the man that looks in the mirror and then turns away and forgets what he looks like. And this is part of looking in that mirror and really being completely honest with what is it that I don't want to see about myself? What is it I am not allowing to be pulled up inside of me to expose so I can release and heal from it? Why do I want to keep this? And why does it make me feel like, you know, what's interesting about some of the things that we have yet to heal or dark areas in our lives is they have served our life in some way up until now. They have been a protective mechanism or a way we've gotten a need met or how we have been able to fill the void of love that we have in our heart, that because of neglect of self-love, basically. And so I remember I started seeing all these things inside of me, yet they were so very hidden and I couldn't really understand what they were. It was just like I felt these little pricks all over. It was like little parts of my body were like trying to expose these little shadows, and I just didn't know how to get them out. And so that's when I really started diving into my healing and wanting to be completely real and honest about a lot of the things that happened in my life or that were about me. Now, this is still very, very hard for me. I'm not going to lie. Like sometimes it's so vulnerable and so intimidating and so scary to reveal these parts of your life. But I notice that the more I'm able to do it, the easier it gets. Plus, that freedom that comes with it. It's just like when you expose it, darkness cannot be where light is. Once you put light in an area, that darkness has to go. So we make this a big, huge deal in our life about exposing these parts of ourselves in the shadow. But what we don't realize is when you shine the light on that area, it has to leave. And that brings freedom in that area. So when you are afraid to shine light on it, try to release that fear, because that fear is actually the ego trying to protect you because it doesn't know what it feels like to be in that light. That area of your life is so used to darkness, is created an identity around it. And that identity is not who you are. Who you are is your highest self. Who you are is the light. Who you are is love. And so allowing yourself to really release these different parts of your shadow will help reveal that freedom within you. And in that, in turn, enhances the frequency at which you live. And that frequency is what attracts things to you. So anything that you're trying to manifest, or you're wanting to change in your life, or you're wanting to happen, it could be because there's these dark areas that are keeping you stuck in loops. And so I'm finding that being in a group of women that are much like me is bringing up these shadows of not feeling good enough, wanting to stay hidden, the mother wound, not wanting to accept love, not wanting to, feeling like I need to let other people be in the limelight or shine over me, because that is kind of how I always felt. Like I had always felt like I need to be silent. I need to stay in the background. I need to hide part of myself, because in some ways it wasn't safe to be, myself, to expose things in my life. And particularly my spiritual gifts that I've had since a child, where I would see shadows or communicate with spirits or get intuitive messages or understand energy and in any of these areas, because, with that religious background, when I started going to church at 16 and then was in it all the way until I was about 35, I was told that these things I experienced were dark and they were bad and they were evil. And so I spent a lot of time trying to rid myself of these areas of my life. And now working with them and using them for the good of not just myself, but others is a new intimidating thing for me, because it exposes that shadow that I yet to deal with, and being able to own my truth and live as my highest self and shine the light, not only in others' lives, but into my own life. Like letting that light go into those dark areas so that they don't have to remain there. And so, this brings me to something else I share in my second book, Composting the Ego. I always, I've for the longest time, I've received intuitive messages through my dreams. And I didn't realize it until probably in my 20s when I had the leaf lesson, was one of the very first visions I had that I remember very clearly. But then I had several other after that. Like I would get warnings about different things, or I'd hear things about people, and it was kind of intimidating. And I remember going to the people in the church and sharing these things, and they would either tell me that I was, it was demonic, or that something was warning me about myself, or, all these different things. But I remember I had this dream. Gosh, I have no idea. It's been probably 10 years ago. And it was, I was in I don't know where this house was, honestly. I just remember I was at a house. It was my house. And a snake came in the front door. And I'm terrified. I don't like snakes. Not a fan. I know a lot of people do, but I'm not a big fan. And so I got scared and I ran to go get a shovel. And for some reason, all the tools like shovels and stuff were in my basement in this house. And when I got to the basement, I ran up to the wall where all my tools were. And the only thing I had were some kid toys, like a little toy shovel, a little toy bucket, a little toy, rake and like all these little things, like little toys in my basement. And I remember I grabbed the little toy shovel thinking, oh my God, this is not going to work. I cannot kill this snake with this toy shovel. What am I going to do? And so I started running in a circle. And for some reason in my dream, there was like a pole in the middle of the basement and I was running around the pole. And the snake was chasing me around the pole. And I was just terrified. And I don't remember if the dream went on, but I do know that as I was coming out of this vision, I heard in my spirit, you need better tools. And at the time I was thinking, oh my God, this snake represents a demon. I need to be more spiritual. I need to read my Bible more. I need to pray, more, all these spiritual things I needed to do. And I remember, I even shared this vision at church. I remember I got up in front of the whole church and shared this vision because I thought it was so intuitive, which it is, but just the way that I interpreted it in who I was at the time, it's just interesting to see how we grow and expand over the years. But so I wrote about this in my book, and my editor and I are in a collaboration of doing the editing right now, and that part I was thinking quite a bit about, and for some reason it stuck out to me as I went back through some of the edits. And last night about 3 a.m., when you get your intuitive messages, the dream came into my head, and I suddenly had this thought of the looping thoughts are the snake that you are trying to run from. Because because we had our call last night with all the women, and nothing happened. There was no reason for me to feel triggered. There was nothing for me to be worried about. But for some reason, I was just looping in my head, like all these negative things, trying to figure them out. And it was almost like the more I thought about it, the more I thought I could solve the problem. The more I analyzed it, the more I tried to control it, the more it was almost like seriously like a broken record. Like I would think about one instant and then I think another. And then I think about that again and then think it again and think it again and think it again. And it was over and over and over. And that dream came to my mind and I heard, this is what I mean. This is why you need bigger tools, because that loop in your mind is actually what's keeping you in the darkness. And that's the shadow that needs to be exposed. So the loop is actually coming out of that is using the tool of quieting the mind. For me, I teach meditation as quieting the mind. So as you quiet the mind, the loop has to release because you shine the light in it and it no longer controls you. So, and then even this morning in my meditation, I heard, because for some reason, I'm tired. I've been up since like 3 and I didn't sleep the night before because I had a really crazy spiritual experience, and maybe I'll share that one day, but I don't feel too comfortable right now with it because I'm still analyzing it, or not analyzing, trying to process, analyze sense. Anyways. So, I'm meditating this morning and I have this urge to keep looking at the time on I got a timer on my meditation app to tell me like how long I was going to be meditating. And I had this urge to keep looking at the time and how much time I had left. And I heard in my spirit, are you going to allow time to control you, or are you going to control time? Because time is illusion in the spirit. Time is something that does not exist. The only thing time is good for is our human experience and having order in some way. And so I clearly had plenty of time to meditate because, I had like 2 hours. But in my mind, I kept looping around and trying to control the situation. And so I finally was like, you're right. I need to release this. And this is how a lot of things become stuck in our energy in our lives is because we fixate on it and we focus on it and we allow it to control us. And these are the shadows of our lives that have to have light shined on them in order to expose them. There is no other way out of it other than letting it go. Our mind is simply a tool that we can use to create and expand in our human life and connect with other people and to keep our body alive and to learn knowledge with and like all these amazing things that our brain can do. But our true self is our highest self, is our spirit. Without our spirit, our body ceases to exist. So when we're aligning back in with our higher self and we're letting that part of us shine light into our shadow ego self, this is when we begin to get out of the loops in our lives. We get out of these dark points that keep us stuck or in fear or in comparison or in judgment of self or others or the irritations that come up inside of you based on what's going around you. You know, I'm finding for myself that the more I expose these areas of my life, the more I feel the reactions that I've never allowed to come out of me start to come out. And it's alarming to me, to be honest. Like the amount of frustration and anger that I've held inside my body for so very long is alarming. It doesn't mean I have this right to go around and be angry and let everybody know in my life that they've hurt me and all this stuff. It has nothing to do with anybody else except for me. So it's in my own tool is going inward and allowing myself to feel these things and then releasing it in the privacy of my own self and in my home and allowing these feelings to be let loose so they don't control me anymore. And this is not easy work, you guys. And that's why, you know, I couldn't do it without somebody's support right now. Like I know, I mean, I'm sure I could, but it's when you're really seeking true healing, the spirit will lead you where you can find it. And that's why I write in my first book to keep looking and keep seeking. If you're not with somebody or you don't have somebody that is a healer in your life, that is a true healer, there are real like people gifted with this. And you know, I think back through my life and how many times I was seeking out that, but then I was seeking it with people that were struggling, you know, that had not healed or were not healing or were not engaging in their own process of exposing the shadows and putting light into those areas. So it is somewhat important to surround yourself with the soul tribe, basically, that is at a frequency that you are, because they'll understand you when you are speaking these kind of things. But if you can't do that with a healer, then my encouragement is to let yourself feel those things in the own privacy of your own being, within your own self, through meditation and through mindfulness and through connecting with nature and through allowing yourself to feel all the emotions that are stored deep inside of you. And what is really amazing is a lot of the things that you struggle with in your body, like maybe sickness or weight gain or I don't know. I even heard recently skin issues can be a part of self-hatred, like acne and things like that, which if everything is vibrational and everything is energy, then it makes sense. Now, on a logical human programmed level, I think that's ridiculous. I'm like, I've had zits since I was like 2. So, you know, what is it that I hold vibrationally that continues to cycle these into my life? And, you know, if I really think about it, the generational trauma that is held in my body could be manifesting it. My dad struggled with the same thing. So something as simple as that could be just a generational transformation of the energy. And so when we start to expose these things, we can start healing them. And maybe it's not you that will hold that vibration of healing, but it could be someone in your family, like a child that you're able to heal for, or you pass this down, to somebody that you help heal. And so the healing is so good, because not only do you get to feel better and heal, but that frequency and vibration is able to go out to those around you that are ready to receive it. Now, we can't make anybody else do anything. We have to allow them to be where they are. And it's so hard, especially if you love somebody. But those who are ready will be influenced by the vibration of healing you hold. So if you are in a place at all where you're struggling with these things, or you're ready to do the work, of course, please reach out to me if you feel led or you feel connected. I would love to work with you. I do one-on-one work. If you can't afford to do like a weekly thing, then talk with me. We'll do every other week. We'll do monthly, whatever you need. And then check out that shadow work course, or get in my, my courses on my website, and do one of the other courses. Do the manifesting and healing course. Do the 15-day meditation challenge. Whatever you feel led to do. I encourage you to not hold yourself back from these things, because the more you hold back, the longer it will take, and it's gonna keep storing down inside of you. And I've have a lot of stuff stored inside of me, so I know that my healing process is gonna be continuing to expand and grow throughout my lifetime, which everybody will be, because there's always something to unlearn and always something to learn. We're always in a process of relearning, even if we think we know everything about something. So release the ego's control and allow yourself to receive. All right. I hope that was helpful for somebody that is going to listen to this and tune in. And again, I'm here for anybody who is ready to dive into that deeper work. I wish you all the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love that there is. Namaste.